Om Manamudhyamkaro Chityaninaha Nacha Shrotrujyube Nacha Gnanonetre Nacha Bhumi Bhomo Natejo Navayu Chidananda Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Nacha Prana Sanko Navai Panchavayu Navasapta Dhatu Navapancho Kosha Navapanipadu Nachapastapayu Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidanandarupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Namin Vishurago Namin Lomo Vadanaiva Menaiva Matsayava Nadharma Nacharto Nakamo Namoksho Chidananda Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Na punyang na papang na sukhang na dukhang na mantra na tirtha na veda na janya Ambojanang naibojang nabokta Chidananda Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Shivoham Shivoham Namitu Nasanka Namijati Veda Pita Noiva Menaiva Mada Majan Nabandhu Namitran Guru Naiva Shishwa Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham अहं निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपं विभूत्या च सर्वैन्द्रियाणां न च संगतं नैव मुक्ति न मे चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं Shiva, Shiva,
So now do the Vedic chanting. Please take part in, please participate, all of you. Om Bhagni Manosi Pratishtita Manaha Me Vachi Pratishtita
Om Bhagni Manosi Pratishthitam Manohe Vachi Pratishthitam
Abhi Abhi Medhi
Abhi Abhi Medhi
Vedasyamani Saha Shrutang Me Ma Prahasiha
Vedashamani Saha Shrutam Mima Bhavasiya
Anino Dhiteno Ahoratram Sangdadami
Ani Aditino Ratam Sangdagami
Haritang Vadishwami Satyang Vadishwami
Ritam Vadishami Satam Vadishami
Mavatu Tadbhaktaram Mavatu
Tatmam Avatu Tadbhaktaram Avatu
Avatu Mama Avatu Bhaktaram Avatu Bhaktaram
Avatu Mam Avatu Bhaktaram Avatu Bhaktaram
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Apayantu Mamangani Bhak Prana Chakshuhu
Om Apayantu Mamo Angani Bhak Pranachu
Mataha Balam Indiyani Cha Sarvani
Shrotramathum Balum Indriyani Sarvani
Daivyam Brahma Upanishadam
Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam
Nirakuriyat Mama Brahma Nirakaro
Maham Brahmo
Nirakarnamastu karname astu.
अनिराकर्णे मेस्तु अनिराकर्णे मेस्तु
Namaste Mai Santu Te Mai Santu
मोहि सन्तु ते मोहि सन्तु
Shanti Shanti Shanti
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Shanti.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidang Purnat Purnamudachyate
पूर्णमादो पूर्णमिदं पूर्णमुदच्यते
Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishvate
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते
Shanti Shanti Shanti
ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः
Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu
ॐ शवनवतु
Aviryam Karvavahai
शौर्यं करवाहुः
Tejasvi no adhitamastu ma vidvishavahai
तेजस्विनो भीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावै
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Om Shangno Mitraha Shangvarunaha Shangno Bhavati Aryo Maha Shangno Indraha Brihaspati Shangno Vishnu Rukramaha
बृहस्पति साङ्गो विष्णु गुरुक्रमा
Namaha Brahmane Namaha Devayu
नमो ब्रह्मणे नमो देवायु
Prakshang Brahmasi
त्वमेव पश्यन् ब्रह्मोऽसि
Deva Vrata Brahma Bodhiswami
तत्त्वमेव मोक्षामि
Pritang Bodhiswami Satyang Bodhiswami
प्रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
Amaratu Tadvakaramagatu
तद्माम् अवतु तद्भक्तारम् अवतु
Mam Araram
अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः
Sadhan Karne Bhishnuam Deva
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः श्रीवान् देवा
Bhadran Pashema
भद्रं हेमा सुविजयता श्रीयोऽङ्गै शिवं
Yatayu
शिवदेवहितं जायु
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
We're now going to start our program today. It's being connected from Singapore, from a place in Singapore. We have today the Divine Life sequence in digital form 283rd. And today's topic is Sadhan, Augnir, Vistar, the fire, the fire of spirituality or the spiritual fire or the spread of spiritual fire. This is a very important topic in our spiritual science and the art of spirituality. Spirituality is both science and art. It's basically a combination of both. It's an art because it has to, come out of the individual in his or her own way. So a lot of subjectivity is involved, which we are going to discuss. And it's a science because, if you follow the methods, you actually reach to a position which anybody from anywhere in the world, from any corner with any description, with any kind of identity, may reach that destiny. So that to that extent, it is a science, very strong science. It's not a weak science. It's very strong science. So when it's considered as an art, it's art of the human being. It's the art of human consciousness. And the art of human consciousness, the power of your imagination, the power of your meditation, the power of your conceptualization, the power of your faith, the power of your consecration to God, and the power of your belief and faith in yourself. All this put together makes it specific to individual. Therefore, it has been said that the spiritual attainment is a factor of the individual. It cannot be made to happen by a collective of group of people or a large number of people. However, that is not the end in itself. It is possible to spread the message of God in a collective form through collective practice and through collective mode of spirituality. What is the collective mode of spirituality? It is a consciousness. That collective consciousness is connected with almost all people or everybody who are involved in the process of a journey towards something. When we talk about the spirituality or the concept of spirituality, it is something that matters or concerns divinity. The orientation is God orientation. So spirituality is oriented to God. You are actually trying to have an experience with your God. You are trying to have an experience with the kind of imagination that you have made or you have earned for the form of God or the existence of God in any kind of situation, maybe form, maybe non-form, maybe in a void, maybe in the in the identity of fire, water, air, whatever. And therefore, it is an individual's power of perception and power of imagination, which is the force to begin with. And in that, when an individual can have this, The individual can come to a collective context, and the joining force here, or the medium of joining here, is the Chetan, or the consciousness. In a human context, we have the description the Vedic sages have mentioned. We have Karmendriya, we have Gyanendriya, and we have Chetanendriya. Karmendriya is the organs which are destined to do the work of various types, but the work, primarily, they are devoted to do the work. Gyanendriya is a category of functional elements of the human system which are involved or engaged in the process of inculcation of knowledge. And of course, when you inculcate knowledge, when you earn and gather knowledge, the knowledge you disseminate also thereafter. However, this knowledge is not different from the knowledge of divinity. It is the knowledge of divinity that you are actually trying to garner from around and actually try to develop through an experiential process. The method here is experiential. Experiential is something which you experience yourself. So therefore, the question arises is, if a single person's experience is something that cannot be duplicated or replicated in the experience of some other person. That is absolutely correct. But the point here is, if you are experiencing in yourself the factors, attributes, and the facts of existence of divine in the world or in yourself in your own way, but at the same time, other person can do in her or his own way. So from there, your ways of looking at are different because your profiles are different, identities are different, the descriptions of yourself are different. Everything that you possess and you have and you represent is unique and different from all of the persons in the world. Therefore, the way you will have your perceptive realization has to be different from the perceptive realization of other person. But then again, what is the fundamental truth you earn and experience through that? The fundamental truth that you earn and experience through that is a truth which the cosmic system or the creation has actually upheld in the beginning or at the onset of its journey from the time t0, if at all there could be something called t0. However, we have to assume that there has to be something called t0, meaning the beginning of the process of life or the creation. That is a kind of assumption that you have to make. Without that assumption in the beginning, it becomes both and endless. So it is infinite in the formation or in the beginning, infinite in the process in the middle, infinite at the end of it. So there cannot be any full stop to this end of it. There cannot be any beginning point or the first letter or alphabet uttered for that. There cannot be anything which has been described fully in the course of its journey in the middle. Of course, that is now. So that's correct. But then again, when you are into a journey towards realization of Brahman, realization of the Supreme, then you have to imagine. What is the imagination? You have to imagine that there was nothing, and from the nothingness had evolved something, and is something which the Lord of Lords, who actually had initiated the time in the form of, in the abode of Mahakal, the great force of the time, and the great force of time or the great energy of time which he had seeded at that point of time, and that has taken forward, that has gone forward and rolled down to the current period. And when it comes down to the current period, you understand that there has been some journey undertaken by human society, and whatever the human society has achieved, good or bad, any way you describe, it has been achieved by the human society Individuals and collectives combine under the inspiration and the realization or the impetus of the truth that you have uncovered, the supreme truth, which is the truth of God. So this way it is, for humanities, or it's a art, meaning it's connected with the subjectivity of the individuals. But at the same time, when you come to the other side of it, you'll find the process that has been identified. I take an example of Acharya Patanjali, who has actually mentioned about the steps in the process. And if we look at the steps in the process of Acharya Patanjali, we find that the states are actually, from it begins with the very fundamental or the realistic position of an individual. The very fundamental and realistic is the human mind is chaotic. Patanjali takes the forms of the mind as murha, shipta, vikshipta, ekagra, and niruddha. Murha mind is what? It's a dull mind. Murha mind is dull mind. Why the mind is dull? Because of ignorance. What is ignorance and what is knowledge? Vidya and avidya. What is avidya? Ignorance is avidya. What is avidya? Avidya is the lack of knowledge of divinity, or lack of the attraction for the knowledge of divinity. So if you do not have the attraction for the knowledge of divinity, then also it is avidya. And if you don't have at all that, that is also avidya. It's the varied degrees. So avidya to vidya. Vidya is what? You have an attraction for the, for knowledge of God, attraction for the knowledge of divinity. You are now in the realm of vidya, and gradually you have to acquire that. So whoever you are, if you are a person from any part of the world, from any corner of the world, with any description of yours, you can perform that. There is no restriction on anything. And the sage Patanjali mentions that, if you follow 8 steps, is known as a Ashtanga, meaning 8 limbs. Why limbs? Because each one is inseparable from the rest. Like in a human system, the limbs are inseparable. If you separate it out, cut it out, then the human system becomes, challenged, meaning it is not a complete system. So if you want to have a complete system, then all the organs have to be satisfied and, maintained properly. So, the Ashtanga, or the 8 limbs, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Now, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, these 5 are the preparatory ones. And when it's mentioned that the mind is mudha, kshipta, and vikshipta, these 3 states of the mind in the human condition are the states where the mind is not organized, mind is not focused on, and of course, not focused on God. Mind is not concentrated. This mind cannot have any concentrated view of anything. Forget about the view of God. It cannot concentrate on its own areas of empirical existence. So the mind is distracted from its own, desired focus point. So when it's doing something, for research, some kind of R&D, research and development, or some kind of, work in the workplace, where the devotion of mind is essential. And if that at that point the mind is busy with some other factors of some memory or something, or some speculation for the future, then the mind becomes fragmented, meaning you are not in a position to engage your total mind or the full power of the mind to your desired work or the destined work. Therefore, the mind with its fragmentation cannot really deliver the same good as you are supposed to deliver. And the quality of this output of this person whose mind is captured by this dullness, by the kind of restlessness, kshipta and vikshipta. These two are the two different stages of restlessness. The example given is example of monkey. By nature, it's restless, but then when, if, or imagine a situation when a monkey is given to swallow some intoxicating liquor, then what happens? This with this intoxication within, the monkey becomes even more restless. So initially it was restless by nature, and now it becomes restless even more by the action of some added things within, or the power of materials contained within, power of the factors of swallow that monkey was made to. So what happens is, in this kind of the restlessness and the kind of ultra restlessness, or the kind of chaotic position of the person, kind of position which is indescribable. It leads to stress, it leads to depression, it leads to many other things. So at that point of time, what happens? The mind is unable to concentrate and focus on good things. Mind always thinks about the negative and the bad things. And the negative and the bad things gradually capture the mind. And if it captures the mind is not in a position to, mind cannot actually, deliver the goods, deliver the right thing. Mind cannot actually focus on a single point, cannot concentrate, and therefore the power of mind is diminished. The work which otherwise the person could have done in a time period of, let's say, T1, is now, T2, where T2 is much longer a period. And again, when we come to the quality description of the output, if it is, done at Q1, then the desired is Q2, then the gap between Q2 and Q1 is wide, and maybe much wider. So in this kind of situation, Patanjali suggests that, you have to discipline your mind. The power of disciplining the mind requires, if you want to develop that, it requires a particular condition of your life living. What is the condition? That in this case, if you can gradually, overnight, it's really difficult by the most people. However, there are exceptions. If you can, gradually withdraw from the greed, anger, covetous condition of mind, jealousy, envy, arrogance, and similar things, and desires of various kinds. The desires of, low variety, desires of high variety, whatever, and all different types of desires. You gradually withdraw from those things. Why? Because Patanjali suggests, and that has been taken by entire, one entire stream of religious culture that has been taken by, and they have, narrated in their own way, but taken from here, from the Patanjali's content, they've taken and elaborated in their own way. So that's good. If, you do it in your own way, but take the basic doctrine of truthfulness and becoming oriented to truth. That is the orientation to wisdom. And if you can do that, you actually come out of the shackles of those negative impacts on the mind, and then you become a person free from those things. And this person, this individual in the world, is an individual who can actually take the world civilization forward in a dissociated manner. The sages in the Rigvedic period, they actually thought about it in the beginning. and they thought that there should be some image, and there should be some structure, there should be something which the people would focus on. So we need to have something which is a symbol, which is a structure, which is a functional thing, which is an activity, which is a collective or singular activity, based on which people would develop themselves. And that was done by the Vedic sages from the very, very earliest Vedic period. And that is known as a Jangya. Jangya, or the sacrificial fire. Sacrificial fire is what I need to mention that first. I need to mention a reference which anyone who is interested can go for this, or I would suggest any institution anybody is representing should have this, a reference that I'm going to mention now. That the reference should be there in the institutional content of the libraries or the human knowledge, because this is so unique in the, say, human civilization, a contribution, that this needs to be known by, this needs to be understood by people across the globe, irrespective of any description of any variety of knowledge she or he belongs to, or any variety of knowledge the person is interested in. I want to talk about Agni, the fire. Agnim ide purohitam jangyasya devasya utaram ratnadhataram. Now, Agni, the fire. Now, the Hutaram, the in between, there is a concept of Ritmijam, Ritvik, and Purohitam, and there is a Jangyasya, Jangya, and there is a Ire. Now, these are the things which we need to consider. I give the reference and then I mention. The reference is not to explain, but to give a direction that, what a kind of powerful thought this has been, that the world has gone to a great extent to explore that. A person called Fritz Stull. Fritz Stull is from European region, Amsterdam. He's a person born of his father's Stull. He was an Amsterdam person, Netherlandians. They had a connection with an Asian territory, Bangkok, Thailand. Not Thailand, somewhat distance from Thailand, in a distant place in Bangkok, in Thailand, somewhat distant from Bangkok. And this man was a very, very strong, learned person. He had his, education in Europe, in Amsterdam, then London. And then he got a job in London, and he was attracted to the Oriental views of life. And this man thought that he will travel to India. He got an idea about India, and he came to the southern part of the country in Madras. And had joined the philosophy of Madras class in the masters. And though he was having his own masters from London, he thought that he will do his masters in Indian philosophy, and he started doing that and did very quickly from University of Madras, got his doctoral degree from there. Then again went back to Europe. He thought that I will do something for this Oriental, thoughts, which I am so much impressed. His journey began during the Second World War. It was the end of it. But then again, after that, he got a chance to get shifted to Berkeley, California. And then in Berkeley, he was given the funding to, and that was added by UNESCO. And, that was a big team formed. And this big team had traveled many places in India. I've mentioned about this action many times. Sometimes I've mentioned about their, where did they visit, what are the things. And you'll find the two volumes that they have come up with is a very, very, large in size. It gives so much of details about the spirit of Agni, which was in the meditation, in the form of meditation, and which was used as a symbol of meditation in Indian civilization from the earliest Vedic period until today. Even there are some places where it's being done in a very small way, but then it still exists. It has not wiped off. It has not wiped out. It still exists in the world, and particularly in India, it still exists. And Fristal has come up with and his large team, and Professor Namudri was also there with him to assist him, and a team also from the southern part of the country. They have arrived into several conclusions, which is approved by the UNESCO team, and then therefore it can be considered as a UNESCO. This has been, published in '83 by, Motilal Banarjee. The price range would be less than 5,000 if you want. So, you can get it. Now, what are the salient features? One is on the language, Sanskrit, that explored the origin of Sanskrit and connection of Sanskrit with other languages, or kind of relationship with other important and major languages of the world. Not just languages of India, but then major languages of the world. And through after a thorough study of that, they have come to a conclusion which has been reiterated and reestablished by many scholars thereafter. The fact that they have discovered its primacy. What is the primacy? They say they have come to the conclusive point. First of all, Sanskrit is very, very vibrant and agile language which can be connected with very easily compared to other languages. It is easier to get connected in the technology, structure of today. So it is even so young and vibrant that you can connect it to the technology structure and use it in technology, and it has been done. Number one. Number two, what are the connections of the European languages with this? And it has been found the Grecian, the Roman, the ancient European claims of the linguistic, excellence. These linguistic excellence is actually connected with Sanskrit, like it is originated basically from there, and the roots of the language are so common that this it is actually derived mostly from that, and it has taken help of that, like the Grecian language, the Roman language, from where the major European languages have emerged, like English, French, Italian, Spanish. These have emerged from that. So it has been concluded that it is the mother of, Indo-European linguistic groups, meaning all the languages that starting from the Far East up to the end of the European region, all the languages, including the language of the Middle East, language of the intermediate areas, Eurasian areas, all these have got the impact and influence of that very strongly, very squarely. There is a concept in India that British scholars had developed this concept, and that's being imbibed and followed by Indian scholars even today. I challenge that concept. There are a lot of people. I've got many references to give. This is not the forum to give reference. If anyone is interested, and write to Soterpat, we'll give answer, and then we'll connect with that on this. The theory of the Aryan invasion, is a wrong theory. It's an imposed theory. It's a constructed theory. This theory does not have the valid proof behind. It's only imagination and only, a guess. Based on imagination and guess, they have developed. And this two-factor theory, like, one factor is the originals here, the groups of people who are original, including some groups in the southern region, and the people who have dominated after they have invaded from outside, and then they dominated. It was actually developed to ridicule two, important figures in Indian spirituality, Lord Rama and Lord Sri Krishna. These two personalities, they have developed such a magnanimous that they have their following in the entire length and breadth of the country and the adjoining areas, in order to ridicule and cartel that the theory of this two-factor theory was developed, and two-factor theory without any valid proof in the back, and the proofs that they have developed later on, these are not really the valid proofs. These are imposed proofs and, developed proofs. These are not that kind of scientifically proved so, but still it is there. So I am not telling anything against anybody, but this needs to be reviewed. And if you review honestly and with the fairness, you will find the theory is a wrong theory and has to be discarded squarely immediately. Crystal came up with a conclusion along with the support teams from Berkeley, California, was because, his, institution was the California and Berkeley, California. And from there, he had to go back. But then after he had retired, I guess it is 91, 92, he came to Asia. He was there in India for some time, but then he did not give the proper patronage here, and in the absence of that, he had gone to Bangkok, Thailand, and lived his last life over there until his, So I guess 2012 is the last, breath that this man had to give. And so the point is, the discovery says when you look at the Agni, now what is the salient point? One is the Jangyam. When you do a Jangyam, a Jenga is done, is placed on the fire, is created on a place which you imagine as a place of, inhabitants of the gods, the devas. So you've got a structure. So structure is drawn. A structure with, there are two forms. One is 27, the other one is 36. Now, 27 is the Chandran, the Chandra, the moon. 36 is the Saura, the sun. So if you have the complete structure, the sun, then you have a 36 corners. And it contains trapezium. It contains inside the, rectangle. It contains inside the triangle. It contains inside the parallelism, parallel lines. It contains even curvature. So all these geometrical forms, which we have learned that it has come from the early European geometry. There are people who have written that geometry is the discovery of the Europe, and numerical 0 and 1, the 0 in particular, is the only discovery of India. I accept your point, but then I want to suggest you please explore further. Then you'll find the Rig Vedas has got a wide description of geometry. When we have this, Vedic, the Jangya as a kind of base of the Jangya, where the fire has to be created, that's the center. The center is at the middle point, the center of that, and it's such that if you draw the seven spherical, meaning seven spheres, if you draw, then the circles, the touch points of the circle that you create, seven touch points, these are the Pancha Mahabhut, and one is the center, which is God, and the outermost is the horizon, which is infinite. So Pancha Mahabhut, and within the system, within human system, there's a Sapta Dhatu. So the Pancha Mahabhut, each one is Khiti, Apa, Tejo, Marutubam, the soil, meaning the earth, the water, the fire, the air, the for sky, and beyond that is a limitless existence. And in the beginning, you've got a center, and the center you find the source of energy. Now you come to the atomic model of Niels Bohr. Bohr's atom model. What do you find in the Bohr's atom model? You find he says there is a nucleus, And in the nucleus, you have got I'm talking about the, gross structure. You can come to the finer structure, all this, of this, and then we can explain even more rigorously. But let's take an explanation which everybody understands. The nucleus, you have got a proton, neutron. These are all there in the contained within. And outward membranes, outward circles, you have got the electrons circling. What is happening? There is a constant dynamism, and in the constant dynamism, the position of the protons and neutrons are changing always constantly, and it is there at the center. And if you want to draw energy, if you want to burst your uranium or plutonium, then what do you get the energy from? You get the energy from the nucleus, and nucleus, when it's connected to the spheres, the outer spheres, then you get the difference, and the difference can create a horror and disaster. So that difference you use in the atomic bomb, and in creation of energy, production of electricity, everything you can do. You can do good things, you can do bad things if you want. This is your volition, human volition, for the bad things, for the good things. You can do that, but if you are a person who has got a good intent, you apply for a good use. If you are a person who has got some other compulsion or a bad intent, then either through compulsion or for a bad intent, you do the bad things. That's what is happening in the history. And it may, one cannot say that it will never happen, thereafter, but it may or may not. So what is happening? The storehouse of energy is where? The nucleus. The nucleus is there where you have got a weak nuclear force, strong nuclear force. Now, the four different forces that Albert Einstein wanted to create a unified field theory of, the either the forces there are two components of nuclear forces. One is the weak and the other one is the strong. Now, weak and strong, these two are there. It changes the position. But in any case, if you want to draw the energy, you have to draw from there. Our, Vedic Jangya was such that it has a 36, as I've said, if you want to create a Surya Mandal. Now in the Surya Mandala, the mandala starts with the center, and across the center you've got 36 different, corners, and each corner is either a corner of a trapezium or a corner of a, the triangle or a rectangle or a linear exposition or a kind of a rectangle one corner in a curvature form, or it's connected, the trapezium is connected in a form that it can change the form and it can become even a square. So you see, the concept of geometrical forms were there in the most ancient period in India, and it was not as a concept, it was there in practice. And why it was done? Because it said that the Atharva Veda, the sage Atharvan, has very clearly elaborated. I've given in my upcoming, one of my upcoming book, which is getting published in 2 months, and the publisher has suggested to me not to propagate the content before. So I am restricting myself, and let us wait up to November, and then we'll explain that further in elaborate terms. But I am mentioning this, that the Atharva Veda has come up with the idea that the inner of the individual and the outer, these two are well connected. Now, these two are so much well connected, these outer can have an influence on the inner, and inner can draw the energy and force from the outer through its volition and practices and submission. How do you do this? Meaning, when you draw energy from within, you revitalize yourself through meditation. But there will be a position in your meditation when you are connected with the cosmic system. If you can develop that connection with the cosmic system, the spirit within, through the medium of consciousness, it connects with the super consciousness, the cosmic consciousness. So when it's connected with the cosmic consciousness, then you get the overall ambience of the thing, which would be self-revealing, and you get a more, high degree of energy from within, and you have got now the power that you can now use for the welfare and betterment of human society. And when we talk about this welfare and betterment of human society, we actually talk about the thing which goes far away from your individual selfish considerations. Therefore, when Vedic sage was telling Agni Mide Purohitam Jangyasya Devam Ritti Jamotaram Ratnadhatamam. Now, what is this Ratna? There are scholars who have, analyzed this in their own way. There are some scholars who've done that, but we have to get into the facts of the thing, facts of the mantra very clearly and correctly. Now, what is this? Now, I am worshipping the fire. I am worshipping you. I'm doing my puja. I'm worshipping you. I'm worshipping you for what? I'm worshiping you not for my well being, not for my selfish consideration. I'm worshiping you for the well being and the goodness of the human society and the creation that you have upheld. So, the creation is your contribution. So it has been mentioned. I'm coming to the details. The nine, segments of this. It says that I'm actually looking at the truth of yours, and it is your truth which can, revolutionize the position of human society. It is your truth which, if accepted by the human society, if it is taken by the human society, you make the human society such a great thing, such a great one, wherein the human society becomes an ideal like the Swargadham, like it turns into heaven. And what is the concept of heaven? That concept of Satyam Vadishwami, Ritam Vadishwami, meaning I maintain the truth, I maintain the concept of my the truth in action. So when I maintain that, I maintain that truth and truth in action in my life. Therefore, what do? I actually suggest the world society, the entire human being, to maintain the same. This point has been elaborated, and that was a great force in Europe for a long period of time, more than 4 decades. This is the existentialist force. Existentialist force, what they used to say. What was the point of Japan Shatre? The point was, I exist, therefore, I tell you to exist the same way as I do. I exist in a form which I consider is the best. If you look at the individual, like, Chetananga, Chitta, Manas, Buddhi, Pragya. Now, Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankar. Either ways, when you start with the mind, intellect, then memory, and then your egoistic position, from there, when you go to the wisdom, the mind turns into a instrument to create a wisdom. The mind now, catalyzes. It is used to transform your habits, your internal, orientation, your, facts of life, your approaches to life and the world in such a way that, it leads to the goodness of everybody. And that's the condition of truth and Ritam, Satyam and Ritam for everyone in the world. So if you do that, you actually are purifying yourself constantly and helping others to purify them constantly. And therefore the sages have said that Agni Purbevi Rishivi Idya Natunoi Utaha Saha Deva Iha Bhakshati. Like, the sages were saying that, it started with the ancient point where the ancient sages in the Vedic period or even earlier, the sages used to, have this jangya with this fire and tell the fire, you are going there to the abode or to the place of the Supreme Divine, and carry yourself the message which I am offering to you. You be kind to me to carry my message to the Supreme and tell the Supreme that yes, I'm here. I'm worshipping you and I'm offering myself to this Jangya. I'm offering all my, all my, things to be corrected to this Yangyo to get it burned down, burned to ashes, and make me pure. And why do I want to become pure? I want to become pure because I think this the cosmic system has got the urge to create a purity. The cosmic system has got the inner intent to create a purity. And the purity is what? Purity is removing the darts from your mind, purity and thereby removing the darts from the outside. So what are the dirty things of your mind? As we have mentioned, our sages used to mention the Shara Ripu is the darts. Now, the sages have come to the conclusive point that you cannot really burn yourself, your darts. So what you have to do, you take the initiative to burn the darts. But you cannot do that. Never was that you can do that fully. So what you have to do? You have to consecrate upon God. You have to consecrate upon the superior force. You have to connect yourself with the center. That is the reason why the Jangya, the sacrificial fire, has got a center. And the center is the point where the divine himself is resting. And the divine himself has maintained this fire. And the divine himself has helped you to maintain the fire within yourself. Now this fire has to be their fire of your hearts to have truth in life. This fire has to be the fire of your hearts to have the union with God, with union with the divine. This fire has to be the fire of your aspiration for a realization of God. And this fire will take you to the place of this absolute reality, and where it all exists in the form of truth and truthfulness. And the truth and truthfulness is all pervading, and it doesn't depend on anything else. Neither depends on the time, nor depends on any place, nor on any other parameter or factor of the world, or any other parameter or factor that has been created by over time or by human being. The sages are saying, Agnim Raim Asnabataham Posham Eva Dive Dive Yashusham Veerabatyamam. Meaning, this fire that I am creating, this fire that I am worshipping to, this fire is actually the fire of that valiant, the truth. And that valiant truth, once I have accepted that, that has got so much of power that this can help me to remove all the dots from the life and from across. So if I am sticking to that, if I have a faith in that, now the sages are mentioning, Shankaracharya has elaborated this, saying that you have to have the faith in this. Unless you have a faith, strong faith in that, you cannot have it in your life. So what is the factor of the strong faith in yourself? The factor of strong faith depends on your orientation to that, and how have you cultivated your functional areas or your thoughts within yourself, and your belief system then gets coordinated accordingly. There's a recent means last 30 years in the United States. There are some ideas about the wish theory, and the wish theory is now getting translated into computing system. It is almost done, and some organizations are very strongly and very rigorously into this. They are likely to come out with some functional platforms or some functional things. Now, the wish theory. What is the wish theory? Wish is something which is a fundamental of this entire cosmic creation. The entire cosmic system is now. This is the point which was there in our Rig Vedas. In the Rig Vedas, the sage, the the sage Paila comes to Vash, the great sage Vash, and he says, "Let us discuss with Vasishta and Atri to understand what is this, the basic intent of this, and what is that contained in the mind of this, Supreme Lord of creation, the Mahakal. What is in his mind?" Then they were there and to understand. So they thought that, okay, we need to understand what is the guiding factor. Then they came to an understanding through their realization. They understood that it is the wish. Saha Vyakurataha, Saha Vikshanaha, and Saha Ikshanaha. He wanted to see, he wanted to aspire even farther. He wanted to create, he wanted to have many. He was alone and he thought that I should be many. And if he wants to become many, then where from he gets the many? He gets the many from himself only. So he has to make himself available in different forms and in different units, in different fragments. And even though it's a fragment, it contains the fullness of him. And therefore it is fragment and it is a whole at the same time. It's a fragment and it's a whole at the same time. This is a point which some of the physicists and some of the genealogists, they wanted to explore. And finally, the mind technologists, they have come to an answer. They have come to get an answer. And they're saying that the wish is something which is a formative thing of human cell. And particularly the chromosomes are driven by the wish, and the force, the energy that the chromosomes get from within, it has got a wish factor in the background of it. And the strong wish gets through, and it's a driver in the force. If you want to create a vector pathway of the pathways of the genes and genealogy, you'll find that it has got a component of wish. Not only that, it has got a major component of wish as a driving factor towards that. And it's mentioned one of the study, which is a very recent study, last 10 to 15 years. The study was being conducted last 3 decades, but then the study has come up in the form of a publication, and is being discussed now. It says that if you have that kind of genealogical position wherein you have the elements created within which are godly, so genealogical position of a godly existence, it can be called a God gene. Now, if it is a God gene, then what happens is you have all the noble factors inside. What are those noble factors? These noble factors are there: the noble mind, noble orientation, noble character, noble behavior, noble choice of life, noble belief system, noble actions and thoughts. And therefore, an individual or many individuals with that would make a civilization, would make a society which is different from the existing one, which is quite different, and that's a new society. This is what Yangavalkya had thought about in his Shukla Yajur Veda, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, long back. And what is his point? He said that we need to have good people on earth more in number than the other varieties of people in the world. And this how, so the meditative process, the other process of realization, and you attain that, and then you create a society which would imbibe that, which would follow that, which would maintain that, which would carry it forward, and it will be passed on to the generations in the human society, and thereby you create a society of goodness once again, and the civilization of truthfulness, the Satya Yuga, will again come back. The era of truthfulness will again come back, and people will behave that way. So the fire, worship of fire, had an intent of that. So wish theory has been a kind of, it has been drawn from the fundamental concept of this fire. Agni yang yagyam advaram vishwata paribhura sihi sahi deveshu gachoti. So what the sages are mentioning, that this fire which I am actually worshipping for, I am actually worshipping the divine behind the fire. So what I am assuming, the fire is the representation of the Supreme Divine. So what is this fire? This fire is the representation of the Supreme Divine. The scientist who has done the work on the fire, as I have given reference to Vistar, they have interacted with people, those who are into Jagya in different corners of India, and also after they have published this Augnir in two volumes, and they found the similar kind of worships and similar kind of mental orientation are available in most part of Asian region, and particularly the Eastern, Southeastern, South Asian, entire Asian region. The intrinsic factors are also available there. Meaning, so that means they are the further elaboration of the studies would reveal that someone has to undertake that. It can be noted that the Asian unity or the Asian integration for borderless Asia initiative, which we have been doing last almost 10 years, it's done. And the new chapter in Vietnam is going to happen just a couple of months from now, has a kind of focus on that, to discover that, to understand the intrinsic connection with the ancient Indian philosophies and the intrinsic positions of the philosophies and life which have occurred in the entire Asian region, irrespective of the cultures they live for right now. So those are very temporary, meaning last some are there 800, 900 years only, some are only 2000 years, like this. So it's not really very ancient. It's relatively, younger in their, position. So the original was there. So, and that still remains in their own form. So you have to discover that. And if we can discover that, and we find that we get a pathway, create a pathway for human society. So the worship of fire, or the Vedic sages, particularly from the very beginning of the Rig Vedas, what they've done is the fire has been considered as this embodiment or the representation of the supreme divine. And the word says, Agnihi hota kavi kratuhu satvasya chitrashyam and Devo Devevi Yagachat, meaning and Kavikratu is a creator. You always create. When you are doing a meditation, you are not repeating. And there is a tendency in some part of our country that everybody says, Swami Vivekananda boliya chilen, so ami eta bolchi. So meaning person is quoting some great personality and then mentioning that and affirming on that. So not this way. You have to create, you have to develop, you have to go further, you have to have your own realization. That's our, the teaching of the Vedas. Vedas is saying always you try to have your own, realization. Your realization will be your own wisdom. And you have to swadhyay, you have to have your own spirit of realization within. And then you discover from within, you have the capacity. So you have to do that. If you can do that, then you'll find that you have discovered something which is noble in character, noble in attributes, noble in all forms, and that noble thing is something which you can contribute to the world. So that truth you have to unearth and unfold from what exists as of now. And it says, Yat angyaha dasushi tvamagne vadram karishyasi tavai tat satyam angiraha vadram karishyasi. So that's what, the Vedic sages have always thought about, doing good things for others, for everybody. Don't be selfish. You don't have to do things only for yourself. And please don't do that. If you are doing something, if you are active, you do something for, others, for the world. And if you are doing something good for the world, you are actually in your pathways of worshipping the divine. You are actually inculcating that, the divine worship within yourself through your works, through your thoughts, through your empirical activities. So the eternity and the empirical, these two domains now merge with each other. And with these two domains having merged with each other, the truth that you discover as of now for your, which is, prayer in life, you get a better truth called Shreya in life, which is a sustainable and long term. So then eternal truth is now the guiding truth for you in your life. And if this happens, then we get a new position of human being, a new identity of human being. And said, Upatvaha agne dive dive dosha vastu dhiyaha Dhiyaham namaha bhavanti evasihi. So I am worshipping you, I am offering my pranam to you, O the Augnir, the fire, you are my God, and I am requesting you to be seated within my thoughts, my aspirations, my design of things within myself, in my consciousness, and you be in such a way that I can recognize you always and understand your contribution to my life, and I can contribute I can contribute to the world as you can inspire me to do that and provide me with the energy, the prana shakti, the energy, the vital energy for to me to do that, to perform that, to accomplish that. So then you become cardinal, you become very important in my life and a guiding factor and force in my life who can take me forward and push me to the position wherein and where from I can do the welfare of everybody in the world. And then again it says, Rajantam Advaranam Gopam Ritasya Didivim Bardhamanam Svedamehe. So you dedicate yourself, and you understand that fire actually is not, it says that fire engulfs everything, it burns everything, it eats everything. It is not that. It's actually trying to correct things. It's actually out there to correct things. It's actually out there to provide you the energy to function, the power to function, the illumination to see the ways. It gives you the illumination from within. It gives you the illumination without. You can have the pathways found within, and you can follow the pathways without. You can follow the pathways in the world of yours and world of your actions, world of your thoughts, and through that you can create a way for the world people, for the people of the world, which would be a better way than the way followed and way nurtured by people now. So you can offer a better truth, you can offer a truth in reality, and you can connect the cosmic truth with your own empirical truth. And then finally he says, Sa naha pitebo sunabehe agni supaya naho bhavaha. Swajashwaha swastai. Like, a father does not, deprive the son in usual manner. A good father does never deprive. And a good father has got a responsibility for the son. If the son is willing to take the guidance of the father, then you have a responsibility to provide. If at all the willingness is not there from that side, then you don't have any responsibility. But if you have got that approach made by then you have to follow. That's why it said, I'm approaching to you as the father of the world, and I'm requesting you to show the way to the world, show the way to the world as to how the human being can live a better life. A human being can live a life of truth and eternity in the empirical context. Human being can become a better personality in terms of thoughts and activities, thoughts and actions, and they create collectively a better society through a superior consciousness that they create out of their own volition and their own action. Therefore, we find this is the fire that our Vedic sages had worshipped and have suggested us to worship within ourselves is not only a symbolic fire, but also a fire in reality. The symbolic fire is a fire which you ignite within your heart, inside the cave of your heart, and that symbolic fire drives your realization, the process of realization through. And that symbolic fire removes the negatives of your mind gradually if you are destined to have the support of the symbolic fire within. However, the fire without the Vedic Janya, people, there are some Western scholars who have mentioned, and many of our Indian people, they have quoted them and repeated that. And they mentioned that it was all for human gains, like give me these, give me that, give me that for that. These have been the descriptions given by them. They thought the grammar which was there 20,000 years ago is still the same the grammar that we follow now. As anybody can understand, the even 500 years ago, the position of a grammar in a language and today are different. Just a simple explanation. If you look at the Victorian English and English now, you won't find similarity beyond the half of it. And if you look at now the language of the technologies, they're using the words halfway or even curve words. They're using the alphabets to mean something and combining two, three alphabets together to give a new meaning. So it's a new language of the technology evolving. So you see, with the passage of time, with the living of lives over a long period of time, the grammar changes its structures, forms, positions. So you need to look at it in a non-grammatic way. But unfortunately, Vedas has not been done that way, in a non-grammatic way. After the Vedic sages, only Shankaracharya did that. Shankaracharya did not, get engrossed and, had any impositions of the grammar. However, he has highlighted and offered his respect for that. After Shankaracharya, we find that only, Sri Aurobindo could do this, and we don't find any other, directly to the Vedas, any other attempt. And Satyarpath, what we have been doing last, almost 40 years, this is actually directly trying to unfold the original treasures of truth of the Vedas, right from the original contents of it. Hope the human civilization will find a time in future to have an understanding of that. With this, we come to an end of today's discussion. Hey Prabhu, Sachidananda, Parabrahma, Sanatan. Those who are intending to have the realization of the Supreme, please allow, please help, please support them in their own journey of spiritual attainment. Jai Ma. We shall now do the Vedic chanting. এখন আমরা বেদমন্ত্র পাঠ করব, সবাই জয়েন করুন। ॐ वाग्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनः मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठिता आविहि मे धीम् वेदस्य मानि सहां श्रुतं मे मा प्रहसिहा
वेदस्य मानिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा
अनेन दूतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्तदामि
अग्निनोदितेन अहोरात्रं सन्दधामि
स्वामी सत्यं वदिष्यामि
प्रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
तद्भामवतु तद्भक्तारामवतु
तद्भावतु तद्भक्तारमवतु
अवतु मामवतु भक्तारामवतु भक्तारा
अवतु भक्तारमवतु
शांति शांति शांति
ओम शांति शांति शांति
आपयन्तु मम अङ्गानि बाणः चक्षुः
ॐ अभयन्तु मुखानि पत्राणि दशुः
प्राणचक्षुः
नेत्रमाथः बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
श्रोत्रमात्रं बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि
सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदाम्
सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदाम्
अहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्यात् माम ब्रह्म निराकारो
माहं ब्रह्म निरकुर्यात् मां निरकरोत्
निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणमे अस्तु
निराकरणमस्तु निराकरणमेऽस्तु
धर्मस्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु
धर्मस्ते मयि सन्ते मयि सन्तु
शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव अवशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ सहनो भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सवीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
करवावहै तमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै
ॐ शान्तिग्रह
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
यो महा
ॐ शं नो मित्रः वरुणः शं नो हरिः
शं नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं नो विष्णुरुक्रमः
शं नो इन्द्रः बृहस्पतिः शं विष्णुरुक्रमः
नमः ब्रह्मणे नमः ते वायु
ब्रह्मणे
अमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मसि
प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मोऽसि
मामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि
त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म
प्रीतं
वदिष्यामि
वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
प्रीतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि
तद्मामवतु तद्भक्तारामवतु
तद्भक्तानां तद्भक्तारामवतु
Abatu Mama Bhaktaram
अवतु मां
Om
भक्तारां
Shanti Shanti Shanti
ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः
Om Bhadrakarni Vishram Deva
ॐ
ॐ
भद्रं
नेनो
देवा
शिवां देवा
Shema Shaviyayotra
भागवतो सुविजयथा
यत्राः
Sirayam Tustuman Shatanubihi
क्षीरोऽयङ्गै सुध्वान्तनोभिः
Srimadevahi Yatayu
वशीभूतं यथायु
Shanti Shanti Shanti
ॐ शान्तिः
ॐ शान्ति
शान्तिः
शान्ति
शान्तिः
शान्तिः
We're now going to do 2 minutes meditation. আমরা এখন 2 minute ধ্যান করব সবাই. All of us for 2 minutes meditation now. জয় মা জয় মা জয় মা। আমরা এখানে আজকে বন্ধ করছি। We are now closing here. We shall meet again next Sunday, Indian Standard Time, 5:30 in the evening. আমরা আবার আগামী রবিবার wish you all the best. সবাই ভালো থাকুন। All the best everyone.
Pranam, sir. Honorable sir, Pranam, when touching your holy feet, sir. Pranam,
All
sir.
the
Pranam.
all the best. ভালো থাকুন। ভালো।